Hello, everyone, ladies, gentlemen, others, Twitch chat, YouTube comment section. Welcome to the newly christened podcast, newly named Text to Speeches. I'm one of your hosts here, Slowpoke writer in making, and here is Thwill Arts, an artist who is also a writer, and many other things as well, actually, if I'm going to be honest. But regardless of that, we are here today to talk to you about writing, and we have some very, very exciting topics for you here today. We're excited about things, excited about Arcane. Thwill, your Poke2bot can go fuck itself, but other than that, we're here to have a good time.
You didn't read the rules, you absolute numbskull. That's not my fault.
It is your fault. It's that bot's fault for not interpreting what I mean. Advanced AI, my ass. They can't even 2 plus 1. Can't solve 2 plus 1 unless they're first told it's 3. That's how dumb they are.
There we go. Put that boy back in his place. All right.
Are you telling Twitch? Are you telling someone in Twitch to get down? What was the opinion shared? No.
Basically, M. Salazar over here is like that Nicktoons TMNT might be better than Avatar. I'm like, I watched Nickelodeon TMNT. It's really good.
The 2000s one or the 3D animated one?
No, the 3D animated one. It's really good, but I would still put Avatar above it.
I have no idea. I didn't watch the 3D animated one. That was after my time. I jumped the cartoon ship like when Clone Wars was coming out. That's when I jumped off. Was more a gamer in my day.
I agree. I agree with that statement. It's one of the better shows since Avatar. Okay. I do definitely see the point that people have been jacking off to Avatar for so long. That's like, man, is the show really that good? It really is that good. Although I do agree that I can see why people would get upset over the overexposure of it. If anything, it kind of highlights how much of a freaking wasteland quality Western animation is that we're still raving about Avatar. Like, I think it deserves it, but
it also functions along the lines of, I heard someone once say that he had a prevailing theory that everyone's favorite piece of media is not the one that had the most personal impact for them. It's the piece of media they saw first that was really good. So, like, a lot of people's favorite show is Avatar: The Last Airbender, not because, because it's a really good show, but also because it was the first good show they saw. Therefore, it is their favorite and how they judge things. I kind of agree with that. Obviously, it's going to be different for, like, writers, animators, artists who want to get in the industry, because my favorite of anything has changed in the years. I mean, I recently got a favorite movie as of last year. Maybe it was this year, actually. Yeah, this year I got a new favorite movie just because, you grow and I understand the medium more.
I would agree for the most part, except that for me, Avatar is a show that, like, on top of the nostalgia bonus, even rewatching it as an adult, rewatching it with my family, heck, I even watched it with my parents. It's a show that ages well, which is not something you can say a lot for a lot of media. It's a show that actually gets better the more you get invested in it, because, like Griffey says, it's a show that respects your intelligence. It has amazing world building. The Eastern influence is on its top notch. Really mature subjects. Sure, there are some jank. There's some jank. Like, no show is perfect, but for what it is, and even for what it isn't, it is a masterclass in cartoon animation.
Yeah, and that's because good media, good art transcends time. My favorite book of all time is from 1897. Like, we're still reading the Epic of Gilgamesh. Like, I think the Epic of Gilgamesh is the oldest piece of fiction that we have currently.
I remember how last year they were like, we found another tome, guys.
Oh, so good. Another chapter of the Epic of Gilgamesh has been released before the Game of Thrones series is finished. That's so good. Oh, it's so good. I think that was my favorite archaeological discovery. Did you hear about the one where they found a glass eye made of obsidian and gold in this ancient skeleton's body that was like buried underneath a grave site, and she looked to be a priest, and all the comments underneath it were, "Do not remove that eye." I have seen this movie before. Do not remove the cursed eye.
I do remember hearing about that one, yeah. That could also be a good episode subject. How our consumption of media affects our perception of reality.
Whoa. I don't know if I'm ready for that one.
Too loaded for you?
Or does our perception of reality affect what media we enjoy?
I mean, that's a no-brainer.
Indeed,
that's a no-brainer.
But it's like a cyclical cycle. It's like what contributes first? The media is influencing us, or our perceptions influence what media we choose to watch? It's like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? I don't care, but it's my breakfast regardless.
I mean, the answer is the chicken. You know, that is the biological. That is the biologically correct answer. The chicken came first. There, I killed the meme. I did it. Yeah, but thinking about it, I'm like, what other shows would I put on the same level as Avatar? Because I think the only shows I would put on the same level as Avatar would be original Ben 10, Powerpuff Girls, maybe. Like a lot of like early 2000 Cartoon Network, actually. I didn't really grow up with Billy and Mandy, simply because it scared the shit out of me as a kid.
Billy and Mandy was like during the height of the gross out period of early 2000s animation, where for the zoomers out there, if you think loud equals funny is annoying, back in like early 2000s, late 90s, their thought process was gross equals funny. So the joke would be that someone just vomits up a bunch of stuff, and like that's funny.
Griffey, you dumb fuck. We don't include anime, because if we include anime, this would be a landslide.
I don't know. I'm not a cartoon watcher. I'm just not. I never was. I grew up most of my childhood without actual cable. So we would only get, various stuff. By the time... Like, I never saw Samurai Jack. I never watched Powerpuff Girls. I never watched... Oh, gosh. Start naming cartoons and I could tell you I didn't watch them. I do, however, miss the era where you could release a cartoon like Hey Arnold, which... What is Hey Arnold about? It's about a kid who grows up in the Bronx. But what else? No, that's it. It's just about a kid who grows up in the Bronx. Like... Amazing. Run it for like 4 seasons.
There is no substitute for good writing and good characterization. Dunk. Yeah. Because I do remember that there was a huge hype train for the Loud House, and then that hype train kind of crashed and burned.
I've never heard of this before. But I also don't have cable, so...
I mean, I don't have cable anymore either. I just...
So, Thwill.
We do not speak of Pokemon here. Stop.
We also don't speak of Digimon.
But yes, go ahead.
Anyway.
No, we do speak of Digimon.
We don't.
Tamers is the best season. Come at me.
Season 1 is atrocious, though. Anyway.
Oh, okay, we're gonna have to fight.
Gonna have a fight? Dude, watch it. It's not good. Season 1, not good. Parts of season 2 are actually pretty good. And then
That's the hot take
I've never seen season 3 actually. No, I saw season 3. Season 3 was when our cable was getting futzy and I caught like maybe 10 episodes. I liked what I saw, but I just had no idea what was going on half the time. Gosh, do you remember that? You missed like 3 weeks of a show and you came back and you're like, I have no idea what's going on anymore. Where are we?
See, I was the kid that self-taught himself how to use the VHS just to never miss shit. Like I would find some bullshit excuse to go visit my grandma so that I could use I could use the recorder.
Wait, no, I remember what I was doing. I was like, what was I doing in like the mid 2000s where I didn't watch any cartoons? Oh, that's right. I would go to school and I would go to Taekwondo for like 4 hours. I remember I was an IRL firebender. That's what I was doing. Man, back in the day...
I'm surrounded with people with hot takes.
You want to know? I'm so pissed off at myself. You want to know what my warm-up was during that time period? I did the One Punch Man, like, warm-up. 100 jumping jacks, 60 crunches, 80 push-ups, and then we ran, like, 10 laps around the dojo, which wasn't a lot, but it still got our blood pumping, and it's like, all right, put pads on, we're sparring now, and we'd fight. Now I can't even do, like, 5 push-ups.
Then get back to it. Get back to it, casual. Do it. No balls.
Anyway.
This is me trying to be motivational.
It's not working. Yeah. All right. So, Thwil, what's our topic for today?
Sausages.
Pretty good. What's our actual topic for today? You got one strike.
We're gonna be talking about what I do to you all the time. Being antagonistic.
Ah, antagonistic, you say? Yes, indeed. We talked about protagonists last time, so now we're going to talk about antagonists as I slightly burp. So we're going to do something that we did similar to last time where we're going to cover our likes and dislikes. I'm going to keep my eye on the times so that we have a good amount of time to talk. I am aiming to be like a half hour for each of us. Our favorite antagonist and our least favorite kind of antagonists. I will run and hit you with an antagonist definition. An antagonist definition is a plot device to set up conflict, obstacles, or challenges for the protagonist, which can take the form of either villains, which is the bad guy, a conflicted creator, which is like a rival, a inanimate force, like we need to go somewhere but there's a tornado in the way, very inconvenient, or the protagonist themselves, which is called, a versus self kind of plot. I am my own worst enemy. Usually your hoity-toity, high eyebrow literature is made up of that. So, Thwil, I think last time I ended the discussion of protagonists, so it's only fair that you begin.
But I started last time.
Well, you did, but do you want me to begin?
Yes. Ladies first.
All right. I will say, I heard that ladies first, but I'm going to not accept it by accepting it. What do you want to start? You want to start with the negative or the positive?
I mean, we started positive last time, so let's start negative.
It's only fair that we start with the negative when talking about antagonists, but the positive when we talk about protagonists.
Yeah.
All right. My least favorite type of villain. Oh, thrill. Oh, how I hummed. Oh, how I hawed at what my least favorite villain was. It came as a tie between two different archetypes that have two different reasons that I hate them so. But at the end of the day, I came to the realization that, well, one of them I didn't like at all. The reason I didn't like it could actually be fit onto protagonists as well as side characters or even just background characters. And I would like to save that topic for another day when we talk about backstories and how your tragic backstory doesn't mean you can do whatever you want, and how sad backstory does not mean complexity, or does not mean intrigue, or does not mean a whole lot other than, it's not the catch all of good writing. So I sat here and thought about it, and my least favorite villain has to be the crazy villain. And not crazy like insane, not like crazy as in just they have something wrong with their head. Oh no, that's bad. I'm talking about crazy like my villain is crazy, therefore they can do whatever they want at any time. And so I can make this character do the good thing or the bad thing or the neutral thing. I can make them burn down a school at one moment, and then the next time they save the day from another villain because LMAO random. Actually, a good Joker of the example of this, Griffey, is the Joker when written improperly. I feel like the Joker fits into this archetype. Harley Quinn when written at her worst. There's that terrible Batwoman series that has that as the main villain. It's basically the villain is whatever I want them to be from episode to episode. Because why? They're crazy. There's no consistent goal. There's no anything. The villain is a plot device. In the worst way. I wish I had a better example, but usually if I see this as their villain, I'm like, this is the villain we're working with. I will legitimately turn off the medium and just not watch it.
Je vois, je vois.
I don't know what that means. I like your magic words, Magic Man.
It means I see.
Oh, I see. How do you say that?
Je vois.
Je vois?
Not bad, not bad.
Not bad. I feel like the accent is the only thing I need to nail there. Which is hard to do. You're weirdly silent right now. You're not very antagonistic. Are you getting something ready, or are you just like, yeah, it's pretty garbage kind of villain?
Oh no. I'm getting something ready.
Oh.
And also I'm preparing my plans for world domination.
Kung Fu Panda 3 has it. They didn't need a villain, but they forced one in regardless.
I disagree.
Well, that was something Griffey said, not me. Yell at Griffey.
Hey, I'm disagreeing with Griffey. I know. I'm reading. I think Kung Fu Panda 3 has way more fundamental problems for no other reasons that the entire like I had a lot of fun with Kung Fu Panda 3 until the final fight kind of yeeted the moral out the window. It's a movie about making your own path in life, about being yourself and becoming the dragon warrior on your own terms. And basically the day is saved through Po becoming Super Panda because he just absorbed the key of a village of pandas. I'm like, I mean, yeah, but at the same time, if you remove the villain, if you removed Kai from Kung Fu Panda 3, there would be it could be like a nice it would be like a nice it could be a nice character study, but without the antagonistic force, there wouldn't be a lot happening. Like it's kind of the same way. Like by that logic, you could look at Kung Fu Panda 2 and be like, yeah, you could remove the villain Kung Fu Panda 2 and make it about him coming to terms with his past. You could, would make it a less interesting movie. You could remove Tai Lung from the first movie, just make Shifu a dillweed.
Kung
But
Fu
yeah, so
Panda.
I disagree that the
I was gonna say, to me, Kung Fu Panda is like the oil, and I'm water. Everyone's like, "Oh, Kung Fu Panda is a great series. It's a great trilogy." I'm like, "Yeah, it's pretty good." And they're like, "No, it's like the best ever." I'm like, sure." I don't know. It just doesn't do much for me. I don't know why.
Boomer Mason.
Okay, whatever.
No, I respect your opinion.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I don't know why. It's just like I like Tai Lung. I like the memes around him. I think it's good. I just don't think it's great.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
See, Griffey, I think there's a fundamental misunderstanding of what an antagonist does. Um, because I'm of the school of thought that the primary goal of an antagonist is being antagonistic. Like, they can't like having a good desire, a good motive is option. It's desirable, but it's optional. Like, it's like best example would be Prime Disney. Like, who gives a shit about what Ursula wants? She just wants to be a cunt. She just wants to be like the worst octopus lady in the sea. But you're like, I'm vibing with that. Because she's just entertaining. And that's kind of the vibe I got from Kai in Kung Fu Panda 3. His beef was, I want to be the best martial artist, but my bro betrayed me. So I'm just gonna destroy everything he's ever built. That's basically his desire and motivation right there. It's not as Shakespearean as Kung Fu Panda 2. It's not as poetically justified as Kung Fu Panda 1, but it still does its job. Like, I'm trying to think of a good example of an actual villain. Of an actual villain that had no desires, they're just there. I'm trying to think of that right now, and I can't think of anything.
I mean, the obvious one is just a tornado from, a disaster movie. Like, bro, tornado's got no intentions. It's just there. It exists. I might actually have an example of that later, but that's a spoiler for another discussion. Yeah, like the ice storm in The Day After Tomorrow, yeah. It doesn't have an agenda, it doesn't have a reason, it's just, oh no, there's an ice storm. And now we're cold. Survive. That's called Man versus Nature, by the way.
Yeah. Like, I think the closest thing I can think of, like, in animation, just for comparison's sake, would be Ice Age. Because in the first Ice Age movie, there was no real antagonist in the first, like, chunk of the movie. It was just, hey, let's bring this kid to his parents, whatever the frick they are. Let's bring the furless monkey to the other furless monkeys. And then the antagonist became an ally, and the old group of the antagonist now turned ally turns out to be the villain. Because yes, I like Ice Age. I like Ice Age 1 and Ice Age 2. I don't remember 3 all that much.
I don't remember any of them. I remember the rat.
He's a squirrel.
Yeah, whatever. Doesn't matter. He's extinct. I think we're done with the crazy discussion. Wow, 10 minutes. All right. That's
No, no,
nothing
no,
more.
no, no, no. No, no, we're not done. I was just going on a tangent because Griffey rustled my jimmies. But yeah, I actually really much agree with your statement on crazy villains.
Hmm.
Although, uh, I'm trying to think if that's more of a result of the trope and more so the result of bad writing. Because you can always justify any bad trope to just bad writing.
Yeah,
Um,
this one,
because
it. I think it just leans more into lazy writing than other ones. Like it's an easy trap.
yeah,
It's an easy band-aid to
yeah,
just
because
slap
like
on your story. And for preference,
yeah,
like my favorite Joker is like the Dark Knight Joker. I realize that's not a traditional version of the Joker. That is my personal favorite version of crazy villain, where is he or her crazy? Or are they in full control? Or do they realize they're crazy and kind of work with that?
yeah, which is actually one of the leading theories about the Joker. Because it actually got confirmed in the comics at some point that he might actually just be hyper sane, which is like the funniest. That's some comic book level stuff right now, right?
That's
Hyper
just some
sanity.
that's like something I would do in my pieces of writing is you either take something to the extreme or you take it to its extreme opposite where the
Yeah,
big dumb brute is really gentle but the big dumb brute is so gentle that it just destroys things which
yeah,
makes him the big dumb brute.
yeah. And because of that, it has been theorized that the reason why the Joker might be crazy is because he knows he's in a comic book. He sees the uselessness of everything, and he just wants to make everybody else understand.
According to the comics there are 3 Jokers. I actually learned about that like an hour ago. I had no idea that that was the case,
Yeah,
but comic book lore is so, I guess fucky is the only way I can put it, fucky to deal with because you're talking about different iterations and different series that all get looped together.
which was one of the coolest things about comics when they used to do them, right?
Yeah, when everyone was working off of the same medium, but then they rebranded, redid everything, so now people are like, oh, why does Batman not arrest the Joker and just kill him already because of blah blah blah? And I'm like, that's because this interaction of Batman has arrested the Joker for the second time in this series. You have seen a Batman arrest a Joker like 7 times.
Yeah. And people who want Batman to kill the Joker kind of fundamentally miss the point of the character. But let's not dive into.
Which one,
Actually, that
LMAO?
would, yeah, like has such simple answer that the protagonist never thought about. I'm so clever. I'm such a clever reader, huh? I'm so smart. I'm smarter than the medium I'm consumed, guys.
I'd
Look at
say
my
that's
big brain.
cringe, but there are actual people in our real world that think we live in the Matrix. Fun fact, the idea that we all live in a simulation existed way before the Matrix came out. That's been a
Unfortunately,
theory in philosophy for a while.
unfortunately, there is some logical backing to the hypotheses.
Well, that's all about proving metaphysics, right? Like proving we are what we are.
Well, it's basically the mentality of what makes us believe that we don't live in a simulation. What makes us believe that we're real? What what certainty do we have that we're not just like the same way that like we play the Sims or some sim games, like what makes us believe that we're not just a simulation for a higher power? And there's actually some math trying to calculate the mathematical possibilities of us living in a simulation that I will not dive into right now because that is not the point, nor do I remember it
I
by
want to move
heart.
on
So,
because I feel like we're more interested about talking about other things than crazy villains. Doing whatever the plot needs at any point in time because the writers wrote themselves in the hole. Because what's planning?
what is planning? All right. As for me,
All right.
my Hmm. So when I had the choice between finding my least favorite villain or my least favorite villain trope, it was kind of a toss up, right? Because
Mm.
uh, obvious, because most of the time when I hate a villain, it's because they've ultimately they it usually comes from a place of disappointment from me, right? It's it's for me a bad antagonist comes from I had expectations and you dropped the ball like a freaking sack of potatoes. You just dropped it. Obviously, like a lot of villains in freaking fairy tale could take that job, but I'm not gonna go for that. That's an easy punching bag. So I think to consolidate all of my opinions, I could just lump it all up with the jobber trope. I unless it's the point, unless it's deliberately like a bait and switch or something, I
For
hate
for the
jobber villains.
for those who are uninitiated, what is a jobber villain? This may or may not include me.
A jobber. All right, a jobber. Let me get it because that's what I was preparing earlier. Yeah. So, as per TV tropes, in any competition there are winners and losers. It's a term that comes from professional wrestling. In professional wrestling, the overwhelming majority of them have been predetermined since the 1920s. Um,
Oh,
and
okay.
fans and insiders alike refer to being on the losing end of the equation as doing the job or jobbing. Essentially, it's the villain that either A is set up just to get his shit kicked in and look like a little bitch, or two, it's a villain that loses despite everything prior in the plot signifying that they shouldn't have lost to that. So basically, it's
Oh,
like
it's like a villain version of Yamcha.
yes,
No, I get what you're saying. Okay, I'm
yeah. So like
curious to hear your
ah,
examples.
again, like I'm saying, like a shit ton of example. I could just use fairy tale as like a prime case study of what of jobber villains. Like, all right, we have the king of dragons, like the ultimate dude who can eat all the magic in the planet. Like he's so strong he can eat like a black hole made out of magic. He can eat any magic. He can eat all of it. He has power space and time. He's like basically a god in the flesh. How do you beat him? You punch him in the face with more magic. Not super magic, not anti-magic magic. You just punch him in the face with magic. That's how you beat the all-consuming villain. Or another example. Ah, shit! It slipped my mind. Damn it. Ah,
Um, the entire vampire court from Castlevania.
uh, no. I wouldn't say they're jobber villains simply because they did a well enough job highlighting why the protagonist should have won that. See, for me, a jobber villain comes in when they lose, but they had no rights to lose. Because like
Mm.
when you look at the Castlevania lineup, you have the freaking son of Dracula, the final heir of the Belmonts, and like one of the strongest witches have ever existed. I feel like with that lineup, you can justify fucking up Dracula's court, right?
Okay.
It's
Hmm.
like they did the proper setup, showing why those protagonists would kick the asses of the super roided out vampires. But for me, the jobber villain would be like, all right, I'm the villain. I have the infinity plus one sword. I have immortality. I have instant regen. Okay, perfect example. It would be like it would be like having perfect cell losing to Krillin.
So the big bad villain at the end of Bleach. I know everything. I
Kinda
can
would
see the future.
would
I have all the powers. I have everything. Is that a silver arrow? Dead.
see that Yubok is like on the line. It's on the line because it was set up. It was just poorly set up, right? Because when you scroll back, like there was set up that like the only thing that can beat him is himself, and the arrow is made out of the residue that he uses when he gives people powers. So it makes sense. It doesn't break any internal rules that the setting had. It
Huh.
was just way too quick.
I love Griffey. Oh no, my only weakness, dying. Oh no, my only weakness, bullets.
People die when they are killed.
Yeah. I love how, you know what it is, Thwill? You know what our least favorite type of antagonist is? Bad writing.
Fair enough, yeah.
I
Because
just feel
like,
like we're having a. We
that's
know
what.
exactly what we both dislike, but we're having a hard time finding examples.
Well, it's because most of the examples I have come from series I've already talked at length about, and I don't want to go back. I don't want to beat a. I don't want to beat the already dead and mutilated horse because I could like Fairy Tale is just like a is like the concentrated Sunny D of most of the shit I hate about writing, and it's amazing for
Oh,
that. But I can't go picking from that bag all the time, right?
okay, gotcha.
Yeah, because yeah, because unfortunately or fortunately, I'm the kind of person that if I don't like something, I'm gonna drop it. Like I don't develop Stockholm syndrome unless I'm really deep into something, right? Like the mentality of, oh hey, it gets good after episode 12. I'm like,
Nah.
I might give it a shot, but if I'm not having a good time right now, I'm having a bad time having I'm having a hard time imagining myself having a good time later. Cause yeah, because when I was thinking about my worst kinds of villains, it's like, do I hate weak villains? No, because weak villains done right can be just as terrifying as strong villains. Because like, what is that dude planning? What is that schemer gonna do? What the frick is going on? Like, I like powerful villains because like sometimes squash fights are really interesting. Like just having somebody just absolutely demolish somebody else, that's entertaining in its own right.
It's fun the first time. When you base an entire series around it, it gets old pretty quick.
Oh,
Overlord.
I just had a brain blast.
Yes.
All right. I think I might have actually found something that I hate even more than jobber villains.
It's illegal.
And I
You
can't believe I
can't
did.
change your answer.
Ah, dang it. Okay.
The test answer is submitted. You cannot put it back.
Damn it. Fine. Whatever. Okay, Mason.
Yes.
What is your opinion on villains that just won't fucking die?
Um.
Like, not the kinds of villains that I have immortality. You need that specific thing to kill. No, like, just the kind of villain. Like every time you thought you kicked their asses, they had like a 5D chess plan running in the background, and they always come back. And you're like, dude, this is like the fifth time. Why won't you just leave?
A villain whose power is plot convenience. That kind of hits both of our least favorites, actually.
Yeah, because okay, so there's this new manga I've been reading. It's Kaiju number 8. It's really good. It's amazing. It's a really nice manga, and unfortunately, because it's an online manga, the author isn't bound by the weekly release. So this chapters take a lot of time to come out, because he has other thing going on the side, and more power to him. But that does actually make the wait for every chapter like that much more excruciating. But there's this one villain. This is mild spoilers for Kaiju number 8. I would recommend it, so I'm gonna give you like 5 seconds to like close your ears and mute yourselves. All right. So the main villain, as of this current arc, is a dude who has the power over fungus, right? So because of that, every time you think you kicked his ass, he sheds. He had like a backup. He had like a backup spore somewhere. Like it all makes sense, right? Like it's not like he pulls those abilities out of his ass. It's it's consistent with how his power set has been formulated. But now this is like this is the fourth time he came back, and I'm like, dude, like the author didn't do anything wrong. So why am I so pissed with seeing him?
Also because
If
he's
I'm
not
making any
doing
sense
anything
right
for
now.
the plot anymore. He's not a threat to the protagonist. So usually when I see a villain like that, they end up becoming like an anti-hero.
Yeah,
Like,
but that's the thing though. It's like,
okay, help me out here. You watch cartoons.
all right.
Static Shock. Didn't that happen with the fire
Mhm.
guy? Like he was a villain, but he turned into an anti-hero?
I actually didn't grow up with Static Shock.
Ah, okay.
Funnily enough. Yeah.
That was one of those shows I watched every once in a while, and I'm like, all right, I'm done. And then I started playing GameCube. I don't remember what game though.
Yeah. Well, 'cause that's the funny thing though. Like he is a legitimate threat. Like every time, every
Oh,
time they beat the
sorry, Rubber
rubber
Band
man,
Man,
rubber
a
band
Phoenix
man.
of Blue Fire. No, that did happen to Rubber Band Man. Okay, sorry, I was getting my characters mixed up.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing though. It's because like he has motivation to come back to fight the heroes. He's a legitimate threat. Like every time they beat him by the skin of their teeth, and every time he comes back, he becomes stronger. So he's always a threat. But so I'm not sure if it's like I'm mad at the character or if I'm mad at the trope, and
I
that's why like I'm
think
kind of bringing this up right now.
I think it might be you might just not like the character because it would have to be a personality thing. Because if you like the Fungus Man, you're gonna be all about this because you can keep seeing Fungus Man. But then you're on point with the charisma of a character, and that is important for an antagonist.
Also, I guess what doesn't help is that that dude also killed like one of my favorite characters, so that probably doesn't help also.
Ah, there it is. All right.
All right.
A half an hour for all of our dislikes. I think it's truly more fun to talk about the things that we enjoy rather than the things we hate.
Yeah, that's what we leave it for the end. All right.
Unless it was the protagonist one, and we
Uh,
left the negatives for the end.
Yeah. So, Mason,
Yes.
what is your favorite kind of antagonist?
Okay.
I'm curious.
So I have a theory. And it's a writing theory, but it works in writing. Here's my theory. I call it limit of pages because I usually deal in novels and writing and literature. But this can also be called episode count, the runtime of a movie. You have, well, let's say you are making a TV show. Easy example. You have 12 episodes in this TV series. You need to develop characters and you want to have a story and you want to do everything else, but you have 12 40-minute episodes. How much time you give to each character and what you put on screen is going to matter a lot because you're only working within a certain time frame. There's only so much time in an episode. You can't have like a 5-man band that explores all of their interactions, a reformed villain who will get redeemed by the end of the series, a tear-jerking plot line, and a great setting to do all the world building that scans across eons and is so big that it expands beyond the reaches because you have 12 episodes, right? You only have a limited amount of time. So you're like, all right, my strong man is going to be a little bit one note, but we don't have time to introduce to him. A good example of this is actually the Castlevania Netflix series. Castlevania Netflix series got fucked by its episode limit, and I mean fucked. The series, spoilers for Castlevania, I have never seen a season finale that literally one plot stole the ending to another plot line because they had no time. Like, Camille is doing her coup against Dracula, and the heroes literally steal the antagonist and take them for themselves and then kill him. Like, a lot of plot lines had to be abandoned or redone or sped through because they had a limited amount of time. For that reason, for me, an antagonist is a force that you bounce your characters off of. I like character-focused stories. I like exploring relationships, motivations, and plot points and character growth, and you grow with someone throughout their journey. Which is why my main man Sauron from The Lord of the Rings is the perfect villain. Thwil, what's Sauron's motivation?
Being an evil son of a bitch?
Being an evil son of a bitch, why?
Because he feels like it.
Yeah. Does it matter? We know that it's going to be bad if Sauron gets the ring. And the force of Sauron, that corruption, that evil, that menace, forces a lot of people to change. Do they get defeated and hopeless in the face of it? Do they grow as a result? Do they puff their chest out and fight onward only to lose tragically? A villain should have presence, and the Dark Lord usually fits into this trope of being more of a force of nature than anything else. I would say Darth Sidious, before episode 9, really fits into this as well, is just a dark presence affecting everything around him, and the heroes need to bounce off and change to go and fit that. Special shout out to the Horde villain, the millions of like-minded individuals, the, zombies, the horde of orcs descending from the mountaintop, the Vord from Codex Alera, if you are a literature fan. They also fill the same trope. The Zerg would be another example from StarCraft. Thank you. I was actually going to bring that one up, but I forgot about it. Those also fit the same role. I just like the before... Long ago, there was the one villain who betrayed everyone and grew in power to stretch their darkness across the world. I like that because it makes the antagonist more about the protagonist and focuses the story on them. Nothing quite ruffles my jimmies like a villain who. I like villains who have a backstory, but not as a main villain, because then you feel bad for them when the protagonist defeats them, and I don't think that's the purpose of an antagonist. I just like the force of nature big bad guy because he is bad. That's usually how I like to run my D&D villains as well.
I see. I see. Yeah. I do think that feeling bad for the villain isn't necessarily a bad thing. Because I think one of the strongest things an antagonist can do, like you said, an antagonist should have a presence, if not a presence in the plot. Okay, for me, it's either they should have a presence on the plot or a presence in the characters. Like, if the big bad is your dad, even if you don't see the dad a lot, like, it should emotionally affect your protagonist, right?
Yes.
Um,
I hate to do this, but
so
you know what's a good example of that, Will?
do tell.
Fire Lord Ozai from Avatar The Last Airbender.
Yeah. So, like, that's why I'm of the mindset that feeling bad. Also, because the protagonist can also just like the foil, the mirror. Like, because I do like me some villains that like, this is what your protagonist could have turned into if they slipped up once or if they made a bad decision. Like, you know what I'm saying? Just like, this is your emotion. This is your the villain. The antagonist is your protagonist on bad emotional support. Like, you can get a lot of mileage from that.
Yeah, but to me, I would rather
Um,
spend the time developing the villain and their motivations to other characters. I'd rather have my eye in the tower, so to speak.
yeah. Although this is also bundled to one of my other least favorite tropes, but not necessarily one of my most hated ones, so that's why I didn't bring it up. We're not so different, you and I. Oh my god.
We're not so different, you and I. Two sides of the same coin we are. No, you really aren't. Like 95% of the time, you're not.
Like when it's used right, it hits hard, but it usually is not. Uh yeah, because I think my problem with the Dark Lord is that it's used way too much as just baby's first shorthand nowadays in writing. So it's like, I'm Dark Lord Big Bad. Okay, are you a demon? Yes, no, typically yes. Uh, big spiky horned armor, usually. Burns villages for fun, usually. If you're feeling super subversive, the demon lord is secretly a woman. You know,
See, but
see what
at
I
that
mean?
point, you're giving too much detail. Like the Dark Lord is darkness incarnate. It's the bad guy. It's everything evil. They will kick a puppy over a fence because they want to, and you want to stop them. Because why would you not want to stop them? It takes the focus away from the villain and puts it onto the hero. I feel like those authors, it's like, oh, we're gonna make him or her be a demon, and here is their too much detail. Too much. Back up, back up, back up, back up, back up.
Yeah. Uh,
You need to use
shit, I was
that
gonna say something.
time. Sorry. You need to use that time to develop the other characters. It takes the spotlight off the villain.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, I think the Dark Lord should probably fall. It's a balancing act. Where while I do agree that there is like you get a lot of mileage with the Dark Lord because it's an amazing shorthand. Like you don't need to like develop a Dark Lord. Why is he the Dark Lord? Who gives a shit? He wants to he wants to s- he wants to slaughter all the small kitties and drown all the puppies. Kick his ass. Um, I think it kind of reaches a problem where the Dark Lord, while it should be big and vague enough, it shouldn't be as vague as you could just replace the Dark Lord with like a lamp and do the same job.
Mm,
Like, I think the Dark Lord still has the duty to be tailored to the setting it's being slapped on.
yes.
Like, Sauron is evil as shit. And kind of generic if you simplify it enough, but like
Go ahead.
but Sauron kind of still just works for Lord of the Rings. Like I wouldn't slap Sauron anywhere else.
I think Sauron comes off as generic because Sauron is the Dark Lord. It's where the trope comes from. So he's kind of generic, and he's like, bro, I've been here before. I'm just surrounded by copycats. Oh, who's a good
Yeah, so
Dark
that's what
Lord
I'm saying
example?
if you oversimplify it. Yeah. Cuz like Palpatine works for Star Wars. Like I wouldn't slap Palpatine in like the or in like Breaking Bad or something.
Oh,
Like
yeah, no, he wouldn't
Palpatine works for
work.
Star Wars.
He works for Star Wars. Yeah, you still need to have them as part of the setting.
Yeah.
And they
So
need to be
actually
part.
yeah,
Phoenix of
that
Blue
does raise a question like
Oh, go
what
ahead.
are the oh, no, go answer that question. I can ask my question later.
Okay. So then question, if you saw Star Wars, how do you feel Vader as a villain before and after the prequel movies? I would love to do a podcast on corrupted protagonists because I don't think Anakin Skywalker is a good corrupted protagonist simply because they kind of made him an asshole before he was evil, so the fall didn't hit as hard. I like Vader in 4 through 6 as he's a dragon, he's the enforcer of the villain. Pretty good at that. But Vader in 1 through 3 has his own problems. Oh, Darth Vader is a redeemed villain. I forgot about that.
Redemption equals death.
Redemption equals death. Which we gotta talk about that one day.
I mean, I'm fine with that trope when done right.
I'm fine with that trope. It's better than they're redeemed, but they're now like walking among us. I'm like not okay with that. I'm gonna walk
See,
around and
that's
be
the
buddy
problem
buddy
though.
with you. Didn't you kill like thousands of people? Yeah, but I said sorry and had a change of heart, and I have friends now. But bitch, get
See,
in prison.
like for me, stuff like that. Like for me, for a character like that to be redeemed, them being good needs to massively outweigh them being bad. Like if you killed 1,000 people, like okay, you're bad. Go to jail, dead ass. But like if you're kind of required to save 1 billion people, I feel like just by the metric, you're like, okay, fine, we can. It's it's tainted water. It's red tainted water under the really dirty bridge.
Yep.
It's
You know who's a good example of the reformed villain actually?
Zuko.
What was his face from Digimon season 2? Was it Ken?
Oh, don't say that to Dustin. Don't say that.
Oh no, does he
He'll
not
hear
like
you.
Ken? What if the villain uses their evil genius to cure cancer? Well, are they evil? Was a villain in Digimon 2 mind controlled? I thought he saw everything as a simulation. And it's been a hot minute since I saw that.
I think Digimon Season 2 would be one of those things where, like, if you rewatch Season 1, you're like, oh, this is not as bad as I thought. You'd rewatch Season 2 and like, oh shit. Oh, the plot holes.
Oh, the plot holes in Season 2 are atrocious. I like Ken's beats.
Yeah.
And see, I did watch Season 1, and it was worse than I remembered. And I will admit that most of those are dub errors.
Yeah, I'll take Season 1 of Digimon over Season 1 of Pokemon though.
Yeah, but that's like I don't know. That sounds like a comparison fallacy. Like, they're both rough. They're both really rough.
I wouldn't call it a fallacy. For me, the fallacy would come in. Yeah, because calling out a fallacy is also a fallacy in of itself. For me, it would have been a fallacy if I would have said, hey, it's better than Pokemon, and people like Pokemon, so that means it's good. That would have been a fallacy.
Well, if you hate Digimon Season 1, you have to hate Pokemon Season 1. No, also correct.
Yeah. Shit, I forgot the question I was going to ask you.
Darth Vader.
Oh. I remember.
Okay.
So, Mason.
Yes.
What are the prime ingredients for a good Dark Lord?
So a good Dark Lord
what are the spices?
The spices of the Dark Lord. First one is powerful. They're powerful within the system. If we're doing a typical fantasy genre, they have to be like a really good warrior, really good at magic. They have to be really powerful in and of themselves. They have to have a pull or charisma to them. Not like have these speeches and everyone loves me. Not like Magnificent Bastard, but like people follow the Dark Lord because of either promises the Dark Lord made, or he's just so powerful, it's the future. Why on earth would you fight against this being? It's hopeless. Distills a sense of hopelessness around the people that this individual fights with. They have to be evil, and they're usually doing the evil thing for a very simple or nebulous reason. It's like, I don't like this world. Time to blow it up. But I live here. No. Please stop. And they cannot be... and this is something for me, personally. The Dark Lord cannot be beaten by just running at them and hitting them with hard sword. Like, they need to do something else. It needs to be a specific sword. Or, like, not really a specific sword, but like, throw the ring into the lava. You need to kill the Lich's phylactery and find it. Or I'm trying to think of another example. I'm trying to pull inspiration from villains I've used in Dungeons and Dragons, but with tabletop role-playing games, the point is to kind of beat up the villain with your big sword, so that usually doesn't work. Because it is a tabletop role-playing game. You get what I'm saying, though? Like, the reason they haven't been defeated yet is because there's a reason for that.
What if the reason is because nobody stronger showed up yet?
No. Then we get into Chosen One territory, and then everyone's just pissed off because it's like, well, we're just fucked, I guess. Like, it has to be... Look, I'm not saying...
No,
okay,
I get you,
I like Avatar: The Last Airbender, but 100-Year War, no progress. The fuck were you guys doing for 100 years? Were you blowing raspberries? Like, what was there some back and forth? Was there... No? It's just been a steam... Okay. Fire Nation, what the... Why is everyone not, taking over at this point? I kind of get for you, but, like, if they're not slapping you back, like, why are you not just steamrolling? Are you waiting for the comet? Oh,
I mean,
the comet comes every once a year? No, it doesn't come once a year. That's a mistake.
I mean, it was a steamroll though. They they killed the nomads. They killed the nomads. They had the South Pole on lockdown. So literally the only thing they had left was the Earth Nation, the Earth Kingdom, which is literally just the largest kingdom, and they had like a good chunk of that on lockdown. And the Northern Weather tribe, who was just
Yeah.
borderline impenetrable. So they did make a lot of progress. It's like that one thing in Plague Inc. where like you have like all the easy baby countries on lockdown as first, but there's always fucking Greenland that doesn't want to get sick. So you start losing patience. I don't know if you've ever played Plague Inc.
I haven't. Hang on. I need to pull out my history degree. Griffey, the 100 Years' War between France and England IRL was like 20 proxy wars between those two nations, usually resolving states along that border. It wasn't a full 100-year to 100-year war. The closest thing in real life we have to a 100-year war would be the Sengoku Jidai period, but that's still a classification of a bunch of little clan conflicts thrown together to represent a period. It's one of the things where it's like, if I wanted to get real nitpicky with Avatar The Last Airbender, I would say it's really convenient that when the Fire Nation is gonna do its final 1-2 punch to conquer the world, that's when the Avatar shows up. But that's getting really nitpicky.
But Destiny.
Oh, don't get me started on this. You know my attitude on Destiny.
But it's Eastern Destiny. Typically, Eastern Destiny is better than Western Destiny.
You get a pass. I feel like Mr. Krabs. Like, Eastern Destiny's the one clown in that scene. It's like, all right, all you chosen one and Destiny bullshit, get out of here. Looks at Eastern Destiny. Except you can stay, I guess. The clown just celebrates. Woo! I guess you're fine. You come with the setting. I'll allow it.
Yeah. Because on the subject of reformed villains, like, my longest running tabletop character is a reformed villain. And this is something she addresses all the time, because, like, right now, like, she's married, she's the queen of a country that she's helping rebuild, she's part of the heroes, and she's just like, I shouldn't be here. I killed a lot of people. I didn't ask for forgiveness. You kind of just shoved it down my throat. And that is actually a really big part of her character. So, to close this point, what is your opinion on redeemed villains that don't feel worthy of that redemption?
Remember when I said I was doing a coin flip between two villain archetypes that are my least favorite?
Mm-hmm.
Guess what the other coin was? The other side of that coin was.
Ooh. Oh boy.
It was reformed villains that don't deserve it.
Well,
Because
that's there's a key nuance here. It's not that she doesn't think she deserves it.
of course she doesn't think she deserves it. She's the one getting punished. Like, the blood is still there. Like, it is still on your hands, and that is what's being addressed. Not your moral, not your character, not everything else. It is the fact that usually it's like you've killed so many people. Like, you have to, like, work for something like that. Like, that has to be attributed to. But I did one good thing. So what? The only reason I didn't pick this trope is because I've heard whispers of this trope in other series, but I actually haven't seen the series, nor do I plan to. So I can't. It felt unfair for me to use those examples without fully understanding the medium.
Fair enough. Yeah. Yeah, because it's actually a running joke in our Friday games. It's like, man, why are you so edgy about this? We've forgiven you. I don't forgive myself. You don't get to decide when I'm redeemed or not.
I thought it was the reverse, where like she forgave herself, but no one else did. Okay, no, that makes sense.
No, it's the opposite.
Okay. Well, that's like, didn't Ken from Digimon do that? Like, he didn't forgive himself, so he was being Mr. Rogue Samurai with, what was his name, Stingdramon? I don't know, he was cool as hell, though.
Yeah. Because at this point, she way outweighed her crimes for the most part. But it's like, it was like, hey, you deserve to be happy, but she doesn't believe so.
One of the examples I was going to bring up for that was a series that I haven't seen, and the other one was going to be an Orochimaru from Boruto, but I've started reading Boruto, and I think half of the things I knew about Boruto were a lie, so now I don't know what to believe anymore. I just have to wait until I get to that.
Told you that Boruto was good, you dumb fuck.
Listen, from my perspective, you're like, hey, half of the things the anime does are not in the manga. Do you know how ridiculous that sounds? Like, oh, the anime changed fundamental things about the manga. Forgive me for not believing you, because that sounds absurd.
Which it is.
I'm like, no, that's stupid. That can't be the case. It is the case. It's like, oh, I'll believe anything these days. What the heck is going on anymore? Mason, Digimon 2 is well written. Also, Mason, what happened in that series again? Oh, I'm sorry I don't have a perfect fucking memory. I'm sorry I only remember the things I enjoyed about the series. I'm sorry I don't remember what Veemon's fucking name of his Digi-evolutions are. I don't have an iron clamp jaw. I just kind of remember things that I was watching season 2 and I was like, oh, that's kind of neat. I really like that. I don't remember the full thing.
Yeah. He's pulling your leg.
I know, and I clap back. Because that's how I respond to when people pull my leg. I usually go on a rant because it's funny. It's like how I explain a joke sometimes when someone says it, just to piss everyone off. Also why Hisuian Voltorb is one of my favorite new Pokemon, because it's so infuriating.
What? How you went from ironically liking Impidimp to unironically liking it?
Oh no, no. Yeah, it's the same philosophy. I love the trash gremlins. And not accepted, eat shit. That's fine.
I think I'm gonna have to remove the family friendly tag after this.
I said go fuck yourself. You had a family-friendly tag on? I think every episode I've told chat or the general population to go fuck themselves.
Okay, dude, it's because I don't bother changing my tags all the time, because I also art stream, my dude.
I know, but...
Gosh.
You dropped... I
mean, I did it now, but changing tags midstream takes effort. I don't want to do it.
I had no idea. If you would have told me we wanted to keep this family friendly, I would have.
Oh no. That's completely on me. Don't feel bad about it. That's that's 100% on me. Shut the fuck up. It's fine.
Oh, look, a family friendly stream talking about stories. I like stories. Yo, I love Ursula. She do be a mad fuck. I guess we're still family friendly if this was in Australia, but...
Oh man. Uh. Uh. Yeah. All right. So you are fine with redeemed villains that haven't redeemed themselves. So actually, to finish that point, where's the parameter for you where a villain truly becomes redeemed?
Superficially, when the good they've done outweighs the bad. Like, Darth Vader is responsible for killing millions of people. Like, the execution of the Jedi, the military raids he's led. I would put the Death Star in his hands as well, just because he's one of the leaders for it. He killed Palpatine, and then, like, the Dark Lord of the Sith at the time, and, saved his son, and still isn't redeemed in the eyes of the public, I would say. Actually, Star Wars, we don't know how Darth Vader is viewed by the public. Like, in my eyes, he would still be seen as a monster, but like Luke Skywalker would know, and maybe those close to him would believe him. You can't have a villain do like genocide and then say, "Oh, I'm sorry." I'm like, nah, that doesn't cut it, fam. That river of blood underneath your feet is way too deep.
All right.
Which is
Because
why
I have been stalling.
Oh, you son of a bitch!
Because I've been stalling because yes, because I don't actually have a favorite villain archetype.
Oh,
Because I think for me, even more so than the protagonist, a good antagonist is bundled with the kind of story you're trying to tell. So typically, a good antagonist is a given to a good story.
Do you agree with the statement that I have said in the past where a good protagonist you can take out and put into any story and they would work? But a good antagonist you can't take out of the story they currently inhabit or else they don't work. Like, regardless of, magic system and abilities, but...
Yeah. Like, for the most part, I agree. Like, I 100% agree for the villain. Like, because, for example, like, Lex Luthor is a great villain because he's tailor-made for Superman.
Yes.
Joker's an amazing villain because he's tailor-made for Batman. Because the moment you flip those villains, you end up with Injustice. Yeah, like, this is what I don't like. Yeah. Like, do you see what I mean, right?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I've had this philosophy for a while, and that's because the antagonist's entire existence is based upon interrupting and being an obstacle for the protagonist. So if they're missing their protagonist, they don't work anymore.
Yeah. Although, so while I don't have a favorite type of antagonist, I do have a checklist of things that I do really like an antagonist to have. Namely, I think that a lot of the most interesting antagonists are antagonists that actually share either a goal or a desire with the protagonist. And I think that might actually explain why you don't like crazy villains. Because when you think about Sauron, what does Sauron want?
I can't remember if it's to rule or destroy, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah. But basically, Sauron wants the world. He wants to destroy. He wants to control the fate of the fate of the world. What do the protagonists want?
Their own lives to live, please.
Yeah.
Not
so
that.
they are on a collision path because while it doesn't seem that way, they have the same goal. They want the planet. They want the world. It's just that one side wants to break it, and the other side wants to protect it from the dude trying to break it. And that's why crazy. I think you might not like crazy villains, because what the fuck do crazy villains want except being crazy?
Their
Like, what do they
opposition,
want?
their opposition also changes on a whim. One
Yeah,
point they're an ally, one point they're an
like,
enemy, one point they're a rival. Now they're just adjacent.
yeah, because um, yeah, because there was a video essay about the Dark Knight that kind of explains why Joker in the Dark Knight is such an amazing villain. Is because when you take a few steps back, you notice that both him and Batman, they're both fighting for the soul of Gotham. It's just that one wants to save it and the other one wants to corrupt it. So he is crazy within the goal that he set for himself. So good crazy protagonists still have goals. And usually those goals clash, or like they either clash or are in a straight collision line with the protagonist's goal. Because like, yeah, like most of the bad ones I can think about is just like, oh, I'm evil. Okay, why do you want to be evil? Like, being evil for evil's sake is a motivation. But like, if the protagonist doesn't give a shit, then yeah, like protagonist antagonist is a bundle. Typically, if one is good, like for a story to be good, both need to be good. Like, if one is shit and the other one is good, your story suffers for it.
Oh yeah.
Like, like for example, like there have been a shit ton of video essays about like Marvel has a villain problem, blah blah blah, and I'm like, Marvel. I would at least until Phase 4. Marvel, actually no, wait, no, there was Thor: The Dark World. Yeah, but like for the most part, Marvel never really had a straight up garbage villain. They had milk toast vanilla boring villains, but they never had a dead ass bad villain. Like they were all serviceable.
And do you know why they had a
Like,
milquetoast villain? To put more emphasis
the protagonist.
on these protagonists who, let's be frank, no one knew about.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh but yeah, I am so we've already been on air for almost 2 hours now.
Yeah.
So how about a 15-minute wrap up? So
Oh, okay. Cool.
if you had to give a ratio, like a ratio screen time between protagonists and antagonists, what would your ideal ratio be?
Oh, goodness me.
Scooby Doo versus Joker.
Hey, hands
Oh
up.
man, now I want to see that.
No, that's a real thing. Did you know that?
Oh no, I didn't.
No, there's like a. Is it an old Hanna-Barbera card? It was when Batman and Scooby Doo were on the same network. They did a crossover where the Scooby Doo gang helps catch Joker. It's one of those series that was made because the writers were like, fuck it, and they just had a good time with it. From what I understand, haven't seen it, but I want to.
All right, all right, all right.
Oh, the ratio. It truly depends on how many other characters there are. Like, if we're talking, preferably, oh gosh,
Okay, so
I would
to make
say,
your
I
life
would say,
easier,
I have an answer. I would say the only time you show the villain doing anything is in a transition scene. where, like, for Sauron, we need to see the orc army moving out of the Morag. I forget what the place is called. The Witch King's city. We need to see the orc army moving out. We need to see Sauron talking to people to muster the army so that the reader knows what to expect in the future. So basically, unless they're foreshadowing, we're not seeing the villain, and they're only being reacted to.
Yeah, because I think that's also a big reason why mangas though like has so many iconic characters. Because most of the top shonen, like the protagonist has like a 99% appearance rate.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for me the ratio would actually be inversely proportional to how humane you want your villain to be.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going, yeah, like on a scale of pure evil to like flawed hero of his own story, I think for me the ratio goes from like 95-5 protagonist villain to 55-45. A 55-45.
Mm. I just
Um but go ahead.
For those kind of stories, I feel as though the protagonist and the other characters suffer because the villain is getting a lot of the screen time or the amount of page limit or whatever you're working with.
Yeah. I've seen it been done right. The problem is, I think the biggest downfall with those stories is not giving the protagonist enough characterization before switching to the villain,
Yep.
right? Because a lot of these series, like, yeah, like if you have like, for example, like if Luffy, like if you just told me right now that I wouldn't see Luffy for like 20 chapters, I'm like, fine. I know Luffy. I know what Luffy's about. Um, I'm attached to Luffy, so it's fine. I can live like
Yeah.
I can leave 20 chapters without Luffy.
Yeah, but that's because One Piece
Because
has, you know, right, the thousands of other
yeah,
chapters.
yeah, because that is a problem that I'm actually having with My Hero Academia, where we're at a point where they've actually made the main villain more interesting than the main protagonist,
Oh.
and it's like it's good. I love the antagonist, but I'm like, you kind of did Deku dirty though.
Is it true that My Hero's ending
because
soon?
because yeah, it's in the final arc,
Oh, congratulations to My Hero,
presumably.
presumably.
Yeah, yeah, because after it on catching up with Boruto, I would love to hear your opinion on My Hero Academia.
Ah,
It's
okay.
because it's a yeah, 'cause it's a really interesting story. It's a Western comic inspired Eastern
Oh yeah,
manga.
I've seen the first two seasons of it. Actually,
Yeah,
I don't know if you knew that. Did you know that?
yeah, I knew about that
Oh, okay.
because no, because starting season 4 there are a lot of tropes that start appearing that I know would piss you off, and I want to hear you talk about it. Like it's still good. It's still good.
It's still good. I think I know of some of them. My Hero has been one of those series I keep my ear to the ground about. Like how one day One Piece is going to end, and I'm gonna go through that series because
Oh, the
that
world
will.
builder inside of you is gonna love it.
Oh, I again, One Piece is another other series I'm keeping my ear for. Because I am fascinated. Like, it's an
Yeah.
epic, right? Like, we're talking like Epic of Gilgamesh levels.
The best way I could summarize My Hero for you. It's a show that like rams like head first into a lot of tropes that have been done to that and done wrong. But then the author does like like a baby driver Tokyo drift and sticks the landing.
Yeah, he flips them on their heads.
So what
He
typically,
Go ahead.
yeah, so what typically ends up happening is there's a cliffhanger one week that pisses people off, and then the chapter that comes after that explains the cliffhanger. It's like, oh, sorry for doubting you, dude.
Yeah, it shows because tropes are bad. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it again. Tropes are bad. It just depends on how you use them. They shouldn't be a crutch because that's called writing for archetype. And as a writer, you should mature out of that phase. Actually, there's a really good video about that where. Do you know? Of course, you know trope talk, right?
Yeah.
Okay. They did she did a video on female characters that ended up being a video about writing for archetype. And I was like, this is really ironic actually, because I really like this talk of about writing for archetype. But it's in the middle of a female character video.
Yeah. Yeah, because she also made a Plan of Hats video.
Did I see that one? Actually, I think I saw that one recommended to me, but I didn't see it because I kind of know what the planets of hats are. I saw her one about fridging. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know where you stand on that video, but or if you've seen that video or that concept, but that was a weird video because I'm like, I kind of agree with what she's spinning right now. I don't know why everyone's mad at this video, and then she gave her examples, and I was like, oh, that's why. Okay, now I understand.
Yeah, because like fridging is one of those. It's one of those landmines. It's like, okay, what constitutes fridging? Like, I don't see anything wrong with setting up a character just for them to be motivation for another character. That's just a literary tool like anything else, right? But fridging is one of the. All right, I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna be on record saying this. I feel like the gender of the character greatly affects certain people's interpretation of certain tropes. Because if you fridge a dude, oh yeah, whatever. If you fridge a woman, then oh my gosh, you're demeaning the gender. You're demeaning the sex.
I
Well,
just,
how
I
could you do
just,
this to a strong female character?
the more I look at fridging, the more I'm like, oh, you're talking about wasted characters dying. Okay, no, I completely understand that. Or like characters not interacting with the death very well. I'm like, yeah, that is a problem. I agree. What's
Yeah.
everyone mad about again? Oh, okay. Because I completely agree. I don't like killing characters for the sake of killing characters personally. I would more needs to be done with that. Because death is a pretty serious thing. It should be given its proper weight. Like in Arcane.
People die left and right.
Well, the death is given weight. Because violence.
Yeah.
I love the anti-violence message in Arcane. I was not expecting it. I was not expecting it at all.
And you're just in episode 4.
I know.
And you're just in episode 4.
Weirdly enough, I was analyzing a bunch of stories that I want to write to try to pick the one where I release my first novel. And surprisingly, a lot of them had an anti-violence message to them. Like, totally unintentionally. So I was very surprised.
Yeah.
And not anti-violence as in all war is bad or all fighting is bad. It's violence doesn't solve a lot of problems. It just makes them worse in the long run.
Violence is a failure of diplomacy.
Yep. You can't punch many problems.
Yeah. Actually, that's actually another one of my tabletop characters for our Monday game. He's a pacifist good boy. I mean pacifist in big air quotes. He's a non-killing rule boy in a campaign called No More Heroes. So you can kind of get the vibe.
Yeah. Well, that's what Kama was like, but then the campaign evolved.
His best friend's a cannibal.
Who?
My Monday character's best friend is a cannibal.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Kama. I'm like, what are you talking about?
No,
Did I miss something?
Also, you don't know about Tornadus' diet.
Oh, damn it. I thought you were talking about Chopper for a second. And I'm like,
He's a land shark. You should have seen the signs.
That's fine.
Dude, like, I almost feel bad for Kama. It feels like I'm bringing like a Vietnam flashback, a Vietnam flashback plotline to him, and it's coming fast.
It's you took the Vietnam veteran with the Vietnam flashbacks and threw him in the middle of the Korean War and said, "Okay, fight." He's like, "All right." Oh, old habits, cowabunga.
I was supposed to be on vacation.
We were supposed to sail the world, and I was to hang out with these kids and get, make a nice bond with them, because I can't have children of my own. But apparently not anymore.
Apparently there's a dipshit that punched a hole through reality 1,000 years ago.
Boy howdy, I can't wait for this travel around the world where we have a bunch of wacky adventures and grow close to all these friends. You, as the game master, okay, now kill God. It's like, what? This is your first arc. What? If you play a healer monk in D&D, you can punch a lot of problems away, including cancer and petrification. Yeah, but it's hard to do an anti-violence tabletop role-playing game arc, because a lot of classes in like Dungeons and Dragons are about punching things. It's kind of the point of the game, so... kind of feel bad at the end of the campaign, you were supposed to just talk the villain down. Instead of killing the mighty pharaoh, you just talk to him about morals and convince him he's been a bad boy. Might work in a series, not so much a tabletop RPG. How you feeling, Thwill?
I'm feeling exhausted. Because I can't... Because I woke up early for some last minute revisions for my final, and I came straight to here. But I'm feeling pretty good. Other than that,
good. I think we've reached.
Although,
go ahead.
No, you go.
I was gonna say I think we've reached a climax for this discussion. Using a literature term. Just gonna say literature term, but you know what? Whatever.
Literature.
Is there any other closing thoughts?
All right. Chat, you are wonderful. Thanks for watching our podcast.
Yes. My closing thought is Digimon Season 2 is really bad. I just liked some moments from Ken, okay? Clarifying that now.
My closing thought is it's okay to like bad stuff as long as you're able to admit that it's bad.
Yes.
Some people don't know the difference.
Digimon Season 2 is bad. I liked that Ken fought. I don't know. He wasn't immediately
And if she breathed, she's a thought.
Oh my gosh. There's that family-friendly rating right out the window. Anyway, Thwill,
Add the T.
what do you got going on?
Right now, I'm gonna help my brother finish building his rig.
I meant like content-wise. Like this is where you plug your content. Oh, you just ended the stream.
Dude, dude. I don't want to get. I don't want us. I don't want us to get freaking policed by YouTube by me calling some our chat thoughts.
Oh, okay. Well, tell the lovely YouTube people listening to this as a podcast where they can find you.
You can join my public Discord in the description. That we can definitely add in the description.
Add to the description. That's where both of us are, and you can watch me yell at Twitch bots or Discord bots. It's amazing.
Hey, you have a Chimchar now. You can catch Pokemon now.
You know what? I missed my Gremlin. I want my Gremlin. No, I don't have a Gremlin.
Ask for a trade.
I don't have anything to trade.
You can trade your starter, I guess.
Oh, okay.
You wouldn't do that to Chimchar, would you? You wouldn't sacrifice the monkey for a gremlin, would you?
You can catch me on Twitter at SlowpokeRider. It is in the description. Also on Wattpad. I am thinking of getting out a story on Wattpad in January at some point. So keep an eye out for that. I'll be talking about it a little bit on the podcast, maybe, or in a separate video. Probably separate video. I can't imagine I'd be talking about that live. So, you know what, chat? Have a good day. Bye.